My bedroom. My safe space. This room has always been my sanctuary, a place where I can escape the chaos of the outside world and find peace within these four walls. Fairy lights twinkled like fireflies, casting a gentle glow that made everything feel magical. They were my stars, guiding me through the night. Stuffed animals lined the shelves, watching over me with their button eyes. Each one had a story, a memory attached to it, making them more than just toys. My blankets, always warm and cozy, wrapped around me like a comforting hug. They were my shield against the cold and the unknown. I felt safe here. The serene atmosphere of my bedroom was my refuge. But tonight felt different. An unsettling energy lingered in the air. A chill ran down my spine. I pulled my blankets tighter, trying to shake off the feeling. It was as if the room itself was whispering secrets I couldn't quite hear. The shadows from my toys seemed to dance on the walls, creating eerie shapes that played tricks on my mind. My heart pounded in my chest, each beat louder than the last. I grabbed my phone, texting Amy. "Weird night. You seeing anything strange out there?" My fingers trembled as I typed, hoping for a reassuring response. She replied instantly, "So weird you say that. My dog's been barking at the window all night." Her message sent a shiver down my spine. What was going on? I peeked out my window. Just the old oak tree, its branches swaying in the wind. The familiar sight should have been comforting, but tonight it felt ominous. But Amy's text had planted a seed of doubt. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. Every creak of the house, every rustle of the leaves outside seemed amplified, feeding my growing unease. I took a deep breath, trying to calm my racing thoughts. This was my haven, my bedroom. Nothing could harm me here, or so I hoped. The wind howled outside, a mournful sound that seemed to echo through the night, carrying with it a sense of foreboding. My room felt colder than usual, the air thick with unease, as if the very walls were closing in on me. The shadows on the walls seemed to grow longer, more menacing, dancing in the flickering candlelight like dark specters. I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm, but the tension in the air was palpable, making it hard to focus. My eyes darted around the room, searching for the source of my fear, but finding nothing tangible to latch onto. Nothing seemed out of place, yet the feeling persisted, a knot of dread tightening in my stomach with every passing second. I tried to focus on my book, hoping to distract myself, but the words swam before my eyes, refusing to make sense. My imagination ran wild, conjuring up images of monsters lurking in the corners of my room, shadows that seemed to move on their own. I knew it was silly, just tricks of the mind, but I couldn't help myself from feeling a deep-seated fear. The feeling of being watched intensified, as if unseen eyes were boring into my back, making my skin crawl. I could almost feel a presence in the room with me, cold and silent, an invisible entity that seemed to breathe down my neck. I was trapped in my own haven, my safe space now a prison of fear, every creak and groan of the house amplifying my anxiety. Clutching my blanket tighter, I tried to find comfort in its warmth, but the chill in the air was relentless, seeping into my bones. Time seemed to move slowly, each tick of the clock echoing loudly in the silence, a reminder of the long night ahead. I closed my eyes, taking deep breaths, willing myself to calm down, but the sense of dread was unshakable, a constant companion in the dark. Amy's texts got weirder. "Okay, this is creepy." Something moved outside my window, like a shadow. My blood ran cold. A shadow? By my window too? I wanted to laugh it off, tell her it was just the wind, but I couldn't. I had seen it too, a flicker of darkness, gone before I could be sure. My heart hammered in my chest. It was stupid being scared of the dark, but this wasn't just the dark. This was something else, something unseen, lurking just beyond my vision. I typed back, my fingers trembling. Maybe it's just a big bird or something. More to convince myself than her. We both knew it was something more, something sinister. A noise, a soft scratching at my window. I froze, my blood turning to ice. The scratching came again, more insistent this time. I couldn't breathe. Slowly, I turned towards the window. My breath caught in my throat. There, pressed against the glass, was a shadowy figure, tall and thin with long-reaching arms. It was the shadow from my nightmares, the one that haunted my dreams. But this was no dream. This was real, and it was staring right at me. My mind screamed at me to run, to scream for help, but I was paralyzed with fear, frozen in place by the sight of the creature at my window. I had to do something. I couldn't stay here alone with that thing outside. I scrambled out of bed and ran to my door, my legs shaking. "Mom!" I yelled, my voice trembling. "Mom, can you come here for a sec?"
I heard her footsteps approaching, a wave of relief washing over me.
"What is it, honey? What's wrong?"
There's something outside."
I pointed towards the window, unable to speak. Mum followed my gaze, her brow furrowing.
"What are you talking about, Louise? There's nothing there."
She peered out the window, scanning the darkness.
"No, there was a shadow. It was right there. It was looking in at me."
Mum sighed and pulled me into a hug.
"It's okay, honey. It was probably just a tree branch or something. The wind is really strong tonight."
But I knew she didn't believe me. I could see it in her eyes, the doubt, the fear. She felt it too, the presence of something unseen.
Mum left my bedside lamp on, promising to check on me soon. But the light did little to chase away the shadows that clung to the corners of my room. I lay in bed, my body trembling, my eyes glued to the window. Every creak of the house, every howl of the wind sent shivers down my spine. Hours crawled by. The digital clock on my nightstand seemed to mock me with its slow, steady ticking. Sleep wouldn't come, not with that thing lurking outside. I knew I wouldn't be truly alone tonight. The shadow was out there, somewhere in the darkness, watching, waiting, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. Morning finally came, chasing away the shadows with its warm golden light. I had never been so relieved to see the sun. The fear that had gripped me all night began to recede, but it didn't disappear entirely. It lingered in the back of my mind, a cold, unwelcome guest. The memory of the shadow at my window, too vivid to ignore. I told myself it was just a dream, a product of an overactive imagination, but a part of me wasn't so sure. The fear felt too real, too primal. I got out of bed, my legs shaky, and went to the window. The oak tree stood outside, its branches swaying gently in the breeze. Everything seemed normal, peaceful. The day passed in a blur. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. I kept replaying the events of the previous night in my head, questioning everything. Had I really seen the shadow? Or had my fear simply gotten the best of me? I desperately wanted to believe it was all in my head. But the doubt remained. Must have been a bad dream. But I could tell she didn't believe it either. I couldn't blame her. It did sound crazy, even to me. But I couldn't escape the feeling that something was watching me, lurking just beyond my sight. As night fell again, so did the fear. The darkness seemed to stretch endlessly, swallowing every bit of light and hope. I found myself dreading the darkness, dreading the moment when the shadows would lengthen and the unknown would come alive. Every creak, every whisper of the wind outside felt like a harbinger of something sinister. I tried to be brave, to tell myself it was all in my head. I repeated the words like a mantra, hoping they would somehow dispel the fear that clung to me. But the fear was a powerful thing, and it held me captive in its icy grip. My hands trembled uncontrollably. My breath came in shallow gasps. I texted Amy, my fingers trembling. Each letter I typed felt like a lifeline, a desperate plea for reassurance. Think it's back. The feeling, I mean. the dread that something was lurking just beyond my sight, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. "Don't worry, I'm here if you need me." Amy's words were a small comfort, a reminder that I wasn't completely alone in this. Just don't look out the window. Her advice was simple, yet it felt impossible to follow. I knew she was right, but I couldn't help myself. The urge to confront my fear was overwhelming. I had to look. I had to know if the shadow was real, if the terror that gripped me had a face, a form, if the fear that haunted me was justified. My mind raced with possibilities, each more terrifying than the last. Slowly I turned towards the window, my heart pounding in my chest. The sound of my heartbeat was deafening, drowning out all rational thought. And as I peered into the darkness, I saw it. A shape, indistinct yet undeniably there, moving with a purpose that sent chills down my spine. A flicker of movement, a shape in the shadows. The shadow had returned. It was no longer just a figment of my imagination. It was real, and it was watching me. I backed away from the window, my mind reeling. What did it want? Why was it here? The questions swirled in my head, each one more frightening than the last. I clutched my phone tightly, my only connection to the outside world. Amy's words echoed in my mind, but they felt distant, almost unreal. I stared at the screen, hoping for another message, another sign that I wasn't alone. But the screen remained dark, just like the room around me. With trembling hands, I closed the curtains, trying to shut out the darkness. But I knew it was still there, lurking just beyond the fabric, waiting. I sat in the corner of the room, hugging my knees to my chest. The fear was still there, but so was a small spark of determination. I would face this shadow, whatever it was. I would not let it control me. Taking a deep breath, I steeled myself for what was to come. The night was long, but I was ready to face it. The shadow may have returned, but so had my resolve.